taken Somaliphobia into a new alarming level. His attacks on Somali-owned businesses are born out of jealousy, envy, and hatred. They amount to ethnic profiling, misinformation, and deliberate attempts to divide Kenyans. Somali community has conducted businesses with other communities from other Kenyan communities from colonial period to date, forming one of the most trusted and resilient commercial partnerships in the history of our country. It is therefore irresponsible and dangerous for any leader to try and create enmity between communities that have coexisted and prospered together for generations. The attempt to link the BBS Mall to alleged Minnesota fraud is entirely false. BBS Mall is the result of years of hard work, careful planning, transparent, legal investments by its owners. The owners are globally respected businessmen. This business was mooted long before His Excellency President William Ruto became even a deputy president, before he became a deputy president, let alone becoming a president. The project took many years to complete and has created jobs, contributed to government revenue, and supported Kenyan local communities. This magnificent mall has elevated Kenya to new global and international heights. Our silence should not be taken for fear. The Somali community are not anyone's guests in the Republic of Kenya. Kenya is a colonial construct. We did not choose to be Kenyans. Other Kenyans did not choose to be Kenyans. We were part of the Kenya colony and protectorate, which was created by the British to suit their own desires of the time, at the time. But since we got independence, we have learned to coexist together, live together harmoniously as one entity, one sovereign state, one territorial integrity, and to respect one another. We will not shy away from defending our businessmen from reckless and divisive utterances by this rogue Rigathi Gachagua, who is smarting away from the impeachment and remains bitter long after he was impeached. When he was deputy president, all was well, including praising the same people he now attacks, showing that his actions are personal and politically motivated and lack any factual basis. Kenya's leaders and citizens must reject attempts to criminalize success or business acumen and using ethnicity as a factor. Somali-owned business enterprises, like all other Kenyan enterprises, strengthen the economy, create employment, and promote national development. Kenya is one nation built on unity, enterprise, opportunity, and the will, the indomitable will of its 50+ million Kenyans. No community in this country should be turned into a political punching bag by failed, reckless politicians. We hear him telling the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, come and plug out our president. Pick our president the way you have picked Maduro. Nobody, not the mightiest powers in this world, will have that capacity to do this against the will of Kenyans. Kenyans and the world must remember what happened many years back in Mogadishu when the Americans, with all their sophistication and might, wanted to take one General Farah, Muhammad Aidid. The one thing you can never try in the Horn of Africa is to try and do that. Americans learned their lesson. The international community learned its lesson, and not a single president of ours, not a single leader of our country will be placarded by anybody else. We don't care whether you're a superpower, and nobody will ever try. As long as we have Kenyans with the guts, and we have many of them who have the guts, including all of us who are here now addressing you today. Nobody is going to mess with us because they think we are a subhuman. No. If it has happened in other countries, if it has happened in Libya, it has happened in Iraq, it has happened in other places, I can assure you one thing, it will never happen in Kenya. It will never happen in Kenya. And we are willing to shed every drop of blood of every citizen of this country before we can be treated to that kind of embarrassment. No. We became independent, and our independence was born out of the struggle for freedom of Kenyans. Anybody ambaye anawatafuta wazungu kwenda kwa lamba aende atafute hapo kwingine, sio hapa Kenya. We are proud people. We are a proud nation, and we have the capacity to protect ourselves from any external threat, regardless of how powerful that external threat is. Even if it's a nuclear power, we are confident of ourselves.
To condemn in the strongest terms possible the record statements that were made by one Rigathi Gachagua concerning businesses owned by the Somali community, and specifically the BBS Mall. You all know that BBS Mall is one of the finest and magnificent mall in East and Central Africa. It has never been pulled, one of its kind, ever in Kenya or in East and Central Africa. The kind of hatred that one Rigathi Gachagua is spewing against this community is not the first time. He had initially started with senior government officials before, attacked them, talked lies about them, and now he has come to the businessmen and businesswomen of the community. When you look at his statements, this is a man who is still smarting from the impeachment. From the day he was impeached, this man became mad and haywire. And please, for powers of record and the media, don't refer Rigathi Gachagua as His Excellency. Once you are impeached, that title doesn't belong to you. Completely. Go and look at the laws and the rules and regulations. Once you are impeached, one Rigathi Gachagua, the only title he will remain with is Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, because he was once a member of parliament. The term His Excellency has been dropped once you are impeached. The same as if you are a military officer and you are dismissed, you don't carry that rank or title with you. So it's the same. So please refer to Gachagua as Honorable, not His Excellency. That ended with his impeachment. 2, we are dealing with a madman. It's unfortunate that people are looking up to him as a leader. What kind of a leader? The other day he talked about schools that are within Mount Kenya and say it's only one ethnic community that is supposed to be schooling here and administering. That is a madman that we have in Kenya. It's unfortunate that people who are following him. I have one message for Mr. Kalonzo Musyoka. You are a honorable person, serve this country as a vice president. Please, don't follow this madman. He's going to take you to the mud. And so, for that matter, we want to tell Rigathi Gachagua that you do not deserve to be a leader of any kind. It's unfortunate that even Honorable Ruto, His Excellency Ruto, appointed him or got him as his deputy. Now we know he's a madman. You can't even do. So once impeached, you have no role talking to Kenyans. And please refer to him as Honorable Gachagua, not His Excellency. That ended with his impeachment.
I would like to use this opportunity to set the record straight insofar as Eastleigh and the BBS mall is concerned. First of all, let me say that the overwhelming majority of Somalis in Kenya are law-abiding, peace-loving citizens who have lived in harmony with other communities and their neighbors. They hold no grudge or hatred against any community in our country. We are scattered all over Kenya, and we live very peacefully and harmoniously with all our compatriots. Let me first say, first of all, that the BBS was established by a group of visionary and extraordinary entrepreneurs and investors, majority of whom happen to be Somalis. These investors saw the opportunity and the potential of putting a major business or enterprise in Kenya. And they chose Nairobi, and in particular, Eastleigh. Their action was a vote of confidence in the future of our country. And they poured billions of shillings of their hard-earned resources into our economy, providing employment to our people, paying millions in tax revenue to the state, and lifting up our national GDP. Since its inception, the BBS Mall has raised the economy, profile, and reputation of our neighborhood, our city, and our country. It has become a source of pride and success to the people who call Eastleigh home, not only the Somalis, but the thousands of other people whom we share space with in our neighborhood. It predates the Minneapolis fraud cases, a highly politicized, weaponized situation which involves many other members of other nationalities, colors, and communities, but has become a cause célèbre to frame and scapegoat the Somali community in the US and beyond. Bashing Somalis, be they here in Kenya or the United States, has become a blood sport. And peddling propaganda, disinformation, and damn lies is the latest game trending on the social media. Therefore, we have come together to debunk that concept. We can no longer ignore the systematic and sustained barrage of ill advice and unjustified attacks that targets a whole community. Keeping silence is not acceptable anymore. Degrading, denigrating, demonizing, and destroying the name, the character, and the reputation of a whole community is unacceptable. And today we're here to say, stop the demonization, stop the bashing of Somalis, and let us stand up together to condemn those who are peddling fear, those who see the Somalis as other, and who have come to learn to hate others, which is why we as leaders have to take a stand. We must take a stand against xenophobia and the growing tide of Somaliphobia, and against the corrosive power of hate. Before it is too late, we want to say that all it takes for evil to flourish is for good people to do nothing about it. So we must stop now, and we must expose those leaders who are bent on dividing our community, creating divisions that might push our country to the edge and eventually over the cliff. Thank you.
Gachagua and the kind of person we are dealing with as a country. As been said earlier, we are dealing with a madman who has no control of what he says. There is no connection between his mouth and his head and his brains. And he has unfortunately been targeting our one community in this country. The issue of Eastleigh business community, as you all know, Eastleigh business community is one of the biggest contributors of revenue and taxes into this country, and Nairobi in particular. And connecting it to what happened in Minnesota is a very unfortunate thing. And again, this kind of scams happen all over the world, and they have in the past been mentioned some other Kenyans who are involved. But none of us as leaders or as people or himself talked about those scams and frauds that happened in Western countries. And some of the monies were also alleged to have been brought into this country. So relating us as a community or as a business people in the region or in Kenya is very unfortunate of this madman we are dealing with. And I think this country needs to look at it afresh. And unfortunately, he has a space. And he seems to have getting the ears of many other people, other Kenyans, who believe in him as a leader. So we need to tell the Kenyans, or Kenyans in general, not a particular community, that we are no longer dealing with a normal person. They should be very careful of the kind of person they are dealing with, because he's going to bring some tension in this country. And again, we want to advise the other political leaders who are associating with him, who think that he has a number of, a huge voting bloc, so that they assist him, they assist them during the coming general election. We want to say again, anybody who associates with this madman, or any political person who associates with this man and they're coming to seek votes from our region, that we will not have any association with them in terms of political relationship. This gentleman who claims to be a leader of a certain region is turning Kenyans against each other. And again, the latest one is the issue of saying that schools that are national schools that are in Mount Kenya and Central Kenya in particular, that these schools should only admit students from the locality or from the one particular community. These schools are built, maintained, managed through national government resources, and they do not belong to an individual region or community. Thank you very much.
Well, I really pity those who look up to the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua for leadership. And I think the man has abandoned reasoning of late. With his latest outburst, what he's calling for and what he's doing is generously offering Kenya as an open-air crime scene where foreign powers can come and conduct Venezuela-like attacks or raids. But what he should know is that Kenya is not a failed state. Kenya is not Venezuela. And this coming from the man who until recently occupied the second most powerful office in the land is really unfortunate. What he is doing to the Somali community is nothing short of dehumanization. We've seen dehumanization before. We've seen it in Rwanda before the genocide. We have seen it elsewhere. What Rigathi Gachagua is doing to the Somali community is dehumanization, and we'll call it by its name. And we need him to cease. The Somali community is operating legal businesses in this country. Hardworking entrepreneurs who are setting up in creative ways all kinds of enterprises, obeying the law, paying their taxes, now calling upon foreign powers to come and attack these people, associating legal businesses with frauds that have happened long after the alleged frauds that
Nobody has proved anything.
Alleged frauds conducted by people of all nationalities in a land so far away as the United States. I mean, I think just echoing what my colleague said, Rigathi Gachagua needs to have a long conversation with professionals who help people regain their reasoning. Thank you.
By this madman called Gachagua. The claims made by the madman Gachagua raised several questions that requires careful scrutiny. For instance, accusing a well-known Kenyan businessman who has never lived or worked in the United States of laundering money from the US and using it to build a mall in Eastleigh lacks credible evidence and seems impossible. Such serious allegations need evidence rather than casual assertions in the streets and in rallies. Gachagua additionally asserted that national schools in Nairobi and the surrounding areas are exclusively for Kikuyu students, excluding others from across Kenya, and it contradicts Kenyans' inclusive education policies. National schools traditionally admits students from all ethnic backgrounds based on merit, promoting diversity and unity, and therefore claiming that specific students from certain community are entitled to be admitted to that school is baseless, and we will not take it lightly. This man is fond of dividing Kenyans into ethnic and tribal lines. It is also important to emphasize that Somali Kenyans are integral part of Kenya's rich social fabric contributing to the nation's progress. Any attempt to single out or exclude Somali community undermines national cohesion, and we will not take it lightly, and we are not anybody's guest in this country. In summary, political or public figures should avoid making divisive or baseless statements. Instead, fostering unity and addressing issues with facts benefits the entire country. Gachagua should seek medical help from qualified doctors. In my view, this is a mad man who always vomits without consideration on where or when or who. I raise my case. Thank you.
I want to add my voice on the issues raised. I think the impeached Vice President, Gachagua, has no moral authority to speak about crimes that happen in another country. When we know he himself is a criminal, we know he stole from his own nieces and nephews, and he stole from his dead brother. So what moral authority does he have to talk about these issues? Secondly, it seems he suffers from excessive, obsessive, compulsive disorder. And the Somali community live in his head rent-free. Otherwise, why should he be speaking about Somali every other time? He wants to drive wedge between Kenyans, and that I think that is unacceptable. Sometimes you pity those who clap for him instead of helping him.
I also join my colleagues by condemning the reckless statement made by the former Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua. Kenyans first must thank the 13th Parliament for impeaching Gachagua, because we have seen this man cannot hold that office of the Deputy President. And I am sure by now Kenyans have seen. I want also to call up on business association umbrellas bodies like Kenya Private Sectors Alliance to come strongly and defend their members, because attacking a serious and innocent business owners by the calibers of like former Deputy President is not a call for. And by the way, I want to invite Gachagua and his team to go and visit and see Eastleigh, because I have seen recently when the president has said in coming years Kenyans will be like Singapore, they were denying it. But if you go today to Eastleigh and the structures that are there, I am sure every Kenya will believe that what the president has said is doable, because if you see Eastleigh of 2010 and Eastleigh of 2026, you will see the difference. And that are made by the sacrifice of serious business, Somali business communities. So, and I want also to call upon National Cohesion and Integration Commission also to investigate this reckless statement made by the former deputy president, because when he was in America, he called these communities as Al-Shabaab, and also said when the president visited Mandera, as part of Kenya and met the leaders from that region, Gachagua said he met the Al-Shabaab. So I want to call upon the national NCIC to investigate this statement made by Gachagua. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll also want from the word go to strongly condemn the statements made by one Rigathi Gachagua concerning the Somali community, the Somali investors in this country, and the enterprising Somali businessmen, including one of the, and women, including the institutions like the Icon PBS Mall, which is actually one of its kind in East and Central Africa. I would say we have a word for such kind of a man in Somali. You know, we call such people Kakhle. You know, Kakhle is somebody who's loudmouth and who engages his mouth without engaging his brain. And they are very noisy, very loud mouth, but they don't have any substance in what they say. It is unfortunate that somebody who was a deputy president for about 2 years in this country, and somebody who was just a heartbeat away from the presidency, would utter consistently divisive words, divisive rhetorics against a particular community. For starters, let me say, Somali community is not an appendage in this country. Somali is one of the 47 tribes that are legally and constitutionally recognized there are 47 now. Were legally, constitutionally recognized in this country as a community. And Somalis demand no lesser right than other Kenyans, and we are also not demanding for more rights than other Kenyans. We just want to be treated like other Kenyans. We are voters, we are serving in civil service, we are taxpayers, we are contributing to the GDP. Actually, Somalis contribute to 10%. The Somali businesses and Somali, enterprises contribute 10% to the GDP. And if you consider this in relation to the livestock sector, where the Somalis also play a very big role, which contributes 12% to the GDP, the actual contribution of Somalis to the economy of this country is almost a quarter. And that is for a fact. And actually, if you talk of remittances, the other day the president told us actually the remittances from outside this country are becoming one of the major foreign income earners. And Somalis contribute almost 70% of those remittances. Forget about the diaspora European countries. Kenyans who are working in Somalia alone are contributing 70 million remittances to this country per day. That is for a fact. Go and check. 70 million Kenya shillings per day is what the Somalis who are living and working in Somalia, Kenyans who are living and working in Somalia are contributing to the economy of this country. Isli, which is the main business hub run by Somalis, is actually contributing 30% of the total income of taxes that Nairobi collects. 30% of taxes that Nairobi collects comes from Isli. And if you want to bastardize that community, which contributes that immense contribution to the economy of this country, then there is something wrong with your head, like most of us have said. Now, as you have been told, I'm a member of the Education Committee. And we all know the concept of national schools, how the national schools came about. Some of those schools were actually built by colonial governments, and we maintained them after independence, continued resourcing them. These are schools which are supposed to be centered